Hello and welcome, JBA fans. I am your host, King L5, and today I am bringing you week 4 of the JBA versus Matt of the Arizona Dianciebacks. And Matt's team is honestly very scary. He has probably the best Firewater Grass core in the league right now, being Rotom Wash, Mega Venusaur, and Entei, which he is bringing this match. And he also has a backup water, being the Empoleon, because both Empoleon and Rotom are kind of prone to being whittled, and with both of them you can kind of ensure that at least one of them will be alive to take the hits that you need them to take. And Empoleon also functions as a bulky steel type, which is really nice versus my team, to be honest. But that being said, let's get into what I decided to bring. So what I meant to bring was Hurricane Hidden Power Grass, Heat Wave, and what did I bring? Heat Wave? I don't even remember the team, to be honest, but I know I had HP Grass on my Pidgeot, Mega Pidgeot. However, when I loaded up the game, it was actually Hidden Power Dragon, so that's not going to be very helpful versus the Rotom, but I will manage. Rotom is not the greatest switch into Pidgeot, as I can just U-turn out on that thing and go into Excadrill at any time I feel like it. And Excadrill, if you look at his team, he does not have a Mold Breaker EQ switch in. Well, he doesn't have a resist. Mega Venusaur, if it's defensive, can switch in, but that is pretty much his only thing, and I guess a defensive Crook with Intimidate can also take 2, but mainly you're going to be looking at that Mega Venusaur to take those hits. So speaking of the Excadrill, that's going to be my next Pokemon that I'm bringing. This is a pretty fancy spread. So what I did is I have enough speed to outpace any non-Scarf user on his team, as his likely choice Scarfers being potentially Entei and Crocodile already outspeed me. I didn't feel the need to try to go max speed Scarf. So I actually go for the bulky Scarf option, with I think only like 70 speed EVs, but that was enough to outspeed everything on his team. I had max attack Adamant and enough special defense where I can actually tank a Hydro Pump from Rotom, assuming it is defensive, to take on my Mega Pidgeot. And so that's pretty nice. I just threw on that bulk because I have max attack, I outspeed everything I need. What's a hit that I can live? And it was actually the Hydro Pump. So in a pinch, I can do it. I can live one if I need to get an emergency spin off or something like that. By the way, I am Stealth Rock Spin Choice Scarf with Dual Stab, and yeah. Because I couldn't really fit on another Stealth Rocker on this team, I kind of needed everything else. Anyways, going on to the next Pokemon, I have Specs Kyurem. Now if you look at his team and you look at Specs Kyurem, he doesn't have the greatest switch-in. His only real switch-in is Empoleon, which I have Earth Power for, which will do a sizable chunk, probably around 40% if he is bulky. And this thing doesn't really have a lot of switch-ins. I guess Special Defensive Aromatisse can also switch in decently well, but it's going to be taking upwards of 40% from Ice Beam. With just a little bit of chip damage, that thing will get 2-hit KO'd. Excuse me. So that thing is looking like a nice threat, and since Empoleon is kind of one of his stops to Mega Pidgeot, I can use my Kyurem to just whittle that thing for my Pidgeot to sweep later, if I decide that is the course of action I want to go for. Next up I have my Weezing, and which had a really nice matchup versus his team. It counters the Venusaur. I can burn that thing, get residual, which is always super nice on Venusaur, especially in this Gen 6 where burn is 12% rather than 6, and just burning things in general. He doesn't have a lot of things that want to come in on a Weezing. So I am max HP, max defense to take on his Terrakion, which he elected not to bring, which is very nice for me. That was a very big threat to my team. I didn't have a switch in to a choice banded variant apart from Alomomola, which can always get crit, and it's just not a good time. Actually, Alomomola does get 2-hit KO'd by choice banded Terrakion. Close combat does like 50-something%. But anyways, speaking of Alomomola, I am bringing it this week. I have near max defense, but also a lot of special defense. I believe I have a spread where I can comfortably take Giga Drains from Venusaur and Mirror Coat them back, and I am packing Mirror Coat on this Alomomola, so I can potentially catch a Venusaur. If I'm at high health and he just wants to go for the Giga Drain, I can just completely knock that thing out. So that's always nice to know. And I did EV this thing so that it can always live a +2 Life Orb close combat from Terrakion. In case it's a Life Orb setup variant, I can always get off a Scald, put him in range of my Mega Pidgeot, for example. And yeah, so that was my Alomomola set, Wish Protect Standard, of course, trying to heal up my Weezing, which has Pain Split, but that's not the most reliable recovery in the world. And let's move on to my last Pokemon, which is actually Jolly Belly Drum Azumarill. And if you look at his team, he does have a Mega Venusaur and a Rotom Wash, both of which could speed creep me, but I don't know if he would actually go for the speed EVs, especially on Venusaur, because you do need quite a lot of speed, and that takes away from the bulk, and with that being your main Excadrill switch in, you do want as much bulk as possible. Rotom is the one where I was like, yeah, he's probably going to have a speedy Rotom to outspeed my potential Jolly Azumarill, but if I can weaken that thing enough to around 40%, Aqua Jet does knock it out, assuming he's not max defense, because I think he would want some special defensive EVs for my Mega Pidgeot, as that is one of his best switch-ins to it on his roster. So yeah, if I just weaken that thing, Belly Drum Azumarill can always just win. I did have Bounce on this thing to just OHKO Venusaur, but then I changed it to Return, which does huge damage to Venusaur, getting really close to OHKOing it. I think it might OHKO after Rocks, and it also OHKOs Rotom, which is nice because then if he's a bulky slow Rotom, and I determine that through calcs, then I don't have to risk a Play Rough miss, and that's the only thing that can really kill me if I miss a Play Rough. Aromatisse cannot kill me, and that's the only other thing that I would go for Play Rough against. Everything else dies to Aqua Jet. And I mean, Empoleon does kind of take a hit from any move, but it also can't kill me back, and it's incredibly pressured this game by Pidgeot plus my Specs Curum, so I'm not anticipating that being at full health at all. And yeah, that thing can't kill me back unless he gets a Scald Burn. Otherwise, I do 1v1 him. But anyways, he decided to bring his ungodly Fire Water Grass Core, Fire Water Water Grass Core, I guess, plus Aromatisse and the Crocodile. Now, at team matchup, I'm just going to lead off with my Specs Curum because it does have a decent matchup versus a lot of Pokemon, can live a hit versus most of his Pokemon, and if he leads Rotom, for example, I get off a huge hit on that or whatever wants to switch in. And being as I need Rotom weakened for my Pidgeot and my Azumarill to sweep, I felt like it was a really good lead, so I am just going to lead off with it as he leads off with his Mega Venusaur, which is also very good for me. I can throw off a Specs Ice Beam. He does not want to stay in to take that thing as he goes into his Aromatisse, and he does reveal to be specially defensive as it only does 46%. But now I do get the freest switch of my life into Excadrill. There is nothing in this thing's move pool that can threaten it, but he does make a nice double into Empoleon. Now I say a nice double because I'm pretty sure this is going to be Shuca Berry, as it kind of needs it to take the Earth Power from Curum, a potential Hidden Power Ground, which I could pack on Mega Pidgeot, and of course the thing standing in front of him, the Excadrill. As since he doesn't have a ground resist versus me, he does want the Shuca Berry to absorb that hit and OHKO with a Scald. I don't know if it would OHKO, but I definitely don't want to stay in and risk a burn on one of my primary offensive win conditions. So I'm going to, well, at this point he did double into it, so he has one of two plays. If he's Shuca Berry, he stays in and goes for a Scald. If he's not Shuca Berry, he switches out into Mega Venusaur. So covering both of those options, I'm going to go into my Curum, which can take a Scald and gets a nice initiative on the Mega Venusaur, and I can throw off another big hit. As he does go for the Scald, basically confirming he is Shuca Berry, and he does get the burn, unfortunately. I'm going to take this as an opportunity to just go for the Draco Meteor and chip away at this thing, as since he is Shuca Berry, he does not have the leftovers for any recovery. And at this point, if he goes into his Aromatisse, that's just a free switch to my Excadrill, which he doesn't have a very nice switch into, so I'm just going to stay in Draco Meteor, get this thing down to 36%, which is in range for my Excadrill's Earthquake, even if he is Shookaberry, which he does reveal to be right here. And so I do get a kill with Excadrill, and now he is basically free to go into his Mega Venusaur and get off the Mega, as I don't really want to stay in. My switch into this is Weezing, as I can burn this, and basically anything he wants to go into. Entei is not the best switch in to Weezing, and even if he does go into Entei, I do have the Alomola at all times to switch into it, as I do end up burning the Rotom. Now, I don't really have anything at this point to take a Volt Switch. I could go into Excadrill, but that doesn't like taking Hydro Pumps, as he does reveal to be Trick Scarf. So he might have been trying to catch my Alomola on the switch into Hydro Pump there, but Weezing is kind of my most expendable member, and I don't mind taking a Volt Switch or Hydro Pump with this thing as long as I get damage on Rotom, which is pretty key for my Azumarill and my Mega Pidgeot later. He already sacked one Flying Resist, and he's on his way to sacking the second Flying Resist, which means Pidgeot can just spam Hurricane and basically get a kill every time it comes in, especially since the Aromatisse is whittled at this point and is 2-hit KO'd by Hurricane. So I'm just going to go for the Sludge Bomb as he tricks me the Scarf, which is kind of unfortunate. I kind of wanted this thing to have its Black Sludge, but now, well, actually he didn't have Black Sludge because it got knocked off earlier, but he does leave me with the Choice Scarf as I just lock myself into Sludge Bomb, as he does stay in and go for the knockoff, predicting a switch of some kind, and he gets rid of my Choice Scarf, which is really helpful for me because I can just Pain Split up as he goes for the Synthesis or switches out. He does switch out into Rotom, makes a decent play, as he does not allow me to heal up with my Weezing. At this point, I'm just going to go into my Alomomola, as I don't have to fear getting tricked, and a Volt Switch does kind of bounce off, and I don't really need this thing at max HP because it takes literally nothing from Entei, which is the only thing that I really need it for. As he does go for Hydro Pump again on my Protect, just want lefties plus burn damage. At this point, he doesn't go for Volt Switch. Maybe he forgot that he tricked away his Choice Scarf, I don't know. But he does switch out into his Mega Venusaur to get off the Synthesis for free, as I am going to take this as an opportunity to heal up my Weezing, as he does not kill me unless he gets a crit. And my Weezing is back up at full, and I can burn anything on his team, as he just decides to sack off his Rotom to the burn damage, and that is a kill for Weezing, which is always nice. And now at this point, I believe he goes into his Entei, but that's not a problem at all unless he's like Power Orb, Solar Beam, and goes for it versus my Alomomola, which he does not. Thankfully, he goes for the Sacred Fire and reveals his Life Orb. He does get the burn, which, I mean, it's 50%, what are you going to do about it? His thing still walls every physical attacker on his team, being Crook and Entei, so I'm just going to take this as an opportunity to set up a Wish, and now I'm just going to take this as an opportunity to go into my Excadrill, because it is a pretty nice offensive threat. He does kind of have to go into Venusaur on it. He doesn't have a choice. He can't sack the Aromatisse very easily because then he has nothing to take a Hurricane at all. So I'm going to take this as an opportunity to set up my Rocks, as if he stayed in, well, that wasn't a play. If he switched out, Earthquake would bounce off and he'd recover it all from the Wish anyways, so I just got up the free Rocks. As he crits my Weezing on the switch in with Giga Drain, still not going to do anything. And here, I could go for the Will-O-Wisp, but I go for the Sludge Bomb just in case he goes Entei, because he did show that was his way of breaking this earlier. So I do get that right, as I switch out into my Alomola, as he makes a nice double into his Aromatisse, getting off another Wish that he can pass out into potentially an Entei to heal it up, but I'm not going to allow that. I'm going to go straight out into my Excadrill again, and I'm just going to fire off an Earthquake, as I have no reason not to. He stays in. I believe he gets 2-hit KO'd regardless because I am Adamant, and he is definitely specially defensive, so it's like a no drawback play. And that damage is kind of important. I calc that, and I got absolute minimum roll on max HP, max defense, bold, Mega Venusaur, which means he is not speed creeping my Azumarill. So as long as I set up a Belly Drum and get about 10-15% chip damage off on it, that is not a counter. And if I get off the Belly Drum, I basically win with Aqua Jet on his offensive Pokemon, and then return versus Venusaur, and return, I guess, / play rough versus the Aromatisse. and at that point his only hope would be to keep sacking Pokemon until he gets enough Intimidates where Venusaur can live, although I don't think he would expect me to be Max Speed Jolly. But anyways, yeah, I know that my Azumarill can win as long as I get it in the position where I can set up, potentially on the Aromatisse. So I am just going to burn this Venusaur so I always have that chip damage for my Azumarill. So I believe that's 100% in range, although it might not be. It might be close. As he does get a crit on my Weezing as I went for the Pain Split, which is kind of unfortunate. It didn't really matter in the outcome of the game, but it did kind of decrease the differential a bit. And yeah, unfortunately I was forced to let that go down due to a crit. But now he has no switch in to a Mega Pidgeot, and with a free switch I just am free to fire off a Hurricane and get a kill, as he sacks the Pokemon that can actually take a hit and wish it off. And so the Aromatisse is going to go down after this Protect to the second Hurricane. And at this point he doesn't really have a lot of options. And so once this thing goes down, he is going to go into his Crook, and he's going to bluff the Choice Scarf, but I have to switch out, because if he is Choice Scarf, I kind of just lose my main way of killing Venusaur, and that thing can wall my other 3 Pokemon because Azumarill can't set up on it. And so Pidgeot being my only way to kill Mega Venusaur, I did want to preserve that just in case he was Scarf, which he reveals he's Life Orb actually. But Alomomola is an easy switch into that. Nothing is lost by switching into it, to be honest. And he does set up his Rocks, which is kind of unfortunate. It does chip away at my Mega Pidgeot, but I don't really need my health on that. The only thing I really need is to live a Life Orb Extreme Speed from the Entei. As Alomomola takes out the Crocodile with a Scald, he's going to go into his Venusaur in here. I'm just going to basically sack my Excadrill to get off the spin. He lost his Rocker, so I can just basically let this die and get off the spin so that my Mega Pidgeot comes in at full. And like, I really don't need my Excadrill at this point. Sure, it's nice to take an Extreme Speed and Earthquake the Entei, but I don't really need it at this point because Entei is so low where anything on my team can basically pick it off. At this point I get the free switch into my Mega Pidgeot and the game basically ends. I can Hurricane this, Oko it, and then Entei dies to a Life Orb hit plus Rocks, so there is no way he can possibly win. And that's going to be the Week 4 match against Matt, ending with a 3-0 in my favor. He goes for the Extreme Speed, killing himself to Life Orb, basically just denying Pidgeot a kill on the MVP board, which is kind of unfortunate, but what are you going to do? And yeah, I'll see you guys in Week 5. I did kind of fall behind on these uploads, so those are probably going to be uploaded back to back, and I'll see you in that.